It's well known that sequels are never as good as the original. Most of the time, the sequel is nothing more than a money grab by the studio. And over the years, there have been lots of examples of sequels not measuring up to the original. There are a few times where the sequel is considered far better than the original, but it's rare. In the 1970s, the most popular space movie was obviously Star Wars from 1977. It was the first movie that really took you out into space and multiple worlds. And then came director Ridley Scott in 1979 with a sci-fi film that would scare the bejesus out of audiences with the tagline, "In space, no one can hear you scream." The movie Alien was a different kind of space movie. You're trapped on a dark spaceship with its 7-member crew. And within that ship, you're claustrophobic and being hunted by a creature called a Xenomorph that is the most efficient killing machine ever. Sigourney Weaver stars as Ellen Ripley, who turns out to be a total badass and the only one to survive at the end of the movie. It was a major hit for 20th Century Fox, but neither the studio nor Scott had much interest in doing a sequel and moved on to other projects. We'll take a look back at this sci-fi horror sequel and what it was like seeing it opening weekend on the next Back to the Feature.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hey there, movie lovers. Dwayne here to take you back to when some of the greatest movies you know and love first opened at the theater. If you're a fan of movies from the 80s, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below to help us grow this channel. In 1986, director James Cameron was coming off the success of his own little movie called The Terminator, and decided that he was the perfect person to take a stab at a sequel for Alien. Now, most sequels end up just adding a number 2 to the title, and if they're feeling fancy, they'll add a Roman numeral 2. The first thing Cameron did was to title the movie by simply adding an S. Genius move. I was only 12 years old when Alien opened in the theater, so I didn't see it until it hit VHS. Now, thankfully, I was able to see it on VHS before Aliens was released, and then I was lucky enough to go see that opening weekend. In Alien, there was only one Xenomorph killing everyone off. In Aliens, that extra S promised more aliens this time around, and it definitely delivered on that. The original star and sole survivor of Alien, Sigourney Weaver, returned as Ellen Ripley. Now, many consider Ripley to be one of the greatest characters in sci-fi history. The sequel begins pretty much where the first one ended. Ripley is floating off in space in hypersleep when she's picked up by a passing ship. When she's awakened, though, she learns she's been snoozing for 57 years, and a lot has changed since then. Her employer, the Weyland Corporation, doesn't believe her tale about an alien with acid for blood that killed all of her shipmates, or the alien eggs in an old ship on an exomoon. At least they don't believe it publicly. Paul Reiser is a slimy corporate lackey named Carter Burke, who tells Ripley that the exomoon has actually been a terraforming colony for the past 20 years, with no reports of any aliens. We do find out later that that's all bullshit. With almost perfect timing with the rescue of Ripley, all contact with that colony has been lost, and Burke wants Ripley to join a platoon of Marines on a mission to go check it out, and she reluctantly agrees. Now we get to meet the motley crew of Marines that will be leading the charge on this mission. Sitting in the theater, I instantly recognized a couple of these Marines from the Terminator. Michael Biehn is Corporal Hicks, and Bill Paxton is Private Hudson. Now Hicks is a badass who remains calm in the face of danger, and he bonds with Ripley, while Hudson is a whiny bitch who is there mostly for comic relief.
What is it, Private?
How do I get out of this chicken shit outfit?
You secure that shit, Hudson.
In typical Bill Paxton fashion, he does have some of the most memorable lines in the entire movie. Now, the Marines are led by Lieutenant Gorman, who we find out leads the group without much experience in the field.
How many drops is this for you, Lieutenant?
38. Simulated.
How many combat drops?
2. Including this one.
Oh, man.
and this little fact only adds to their lack of respect for him. Now, along with the Marines is an android named Bishop, played by another Terminator vet, Lance Henriksen. If you remember the problems with the android in Alien, then you know that Ripley is not happy having him around and doesn't trust his kind. During the trip to the colony moon, we get to know a bit about each of the Marines, including a scene where Hudson asks Bishop to show Ripley his knife trick. I remember watching this scene in the theater thinking, he's going to cut off one of his fingers. He didn't, but he did end up nicking his own finger, which provides the opportunity to show that, like the android and alien, he has a white milky substance for blood. Now, I'll admit that I was a bit disappointed Hudson got to keep all of his fingers. And of course, this one scene would be attempted by people in real life and would result in lots of trips to the emergency room. You know, because people are stupid.
Okay, Farrow, take us in low over the main colony complex. Storm shutters are sealed. There's no visible activity. All right, hold at 40.
Roger.
Give me a slow circle of the complex.
They take a dropship down to the surface to find out what the hell is going on. The lights are on, but it looks like no one's home. When they get inside, the place is a hot mess with signs of a big fight, but no bodies anywhere. They do find a lab where the colonists had stored some facehuggers in containment tanks, and a couple of those are still alive.
Careful, Burke.
Looks like love at first sight to me. Oh, he likes you, Burke.
Two are alive, the rest are dead.
The search for the missing colonists isn't going well, but they do find a little girl named Newt who has somehow been surviving on her own. Using scanners, they finally find where all the colonists are hanging out.
Yo! Stop your grinning and drop your linen. Found them.
They alive?
Unknown. It looks like all of them.
And decide to load up their weapons and head off to their location.
All right. Let's go, people. They ain't paying us by the hour. Let's go. Head them out. Okay, Frost, you're driving.
Gorman, Ripley, Newt, and Burke, they stay behind in the armored personnel carrier, better known as an APC, watching everything on TV screens as each Marine has a camera on their helmet to record the festivities.
Check those corners.
Watch your spacing.
All right, you heard the man. Don't punch up. Stay loose.
Your transmission's showing a lot of breakup.
Probably getting some interference from the structure.
Use those lights.
Next one down. And proceed on a 216.
Oh, roger, that's a 216.
They realize that the colonists are located next to a fusion reactor, and they have to reluctantly give up their ammo so they don't blow the whole damn place up. Now on their way there, they descend into corridors that have been completely redecorated with dark alien art and goo dripping all over the place. Now as civilians, we would see this as a red flag and run like hell the other direction. But not the Marines. Nope. They just keep heading towards their target. And when they get there, they find all kinds of good stuff. A bunch of big empty eggs, some dead face huggers, and colonists all cocooned up inside the walls. One of the colonists wakes up and asks them to kill her. Standing there not knowing what's happening, they just watch as an alien burst right out of her chest. And that's when all hell breaks loose, and the Marines do exactly what they're trained to do, but what they were told not to do. Yep, They started firing with everything they had, and they still got their asses kicked. Ripley and the others, they got a front row seat by just watching them die on the TV screens. Ripley eventually kicks into badass mode and takes control of the APC and goes after whoever's still alive. She crashes through a wall just in time to save Hicks, Hudson, and Vasquez. Now Ripley and Hicks override Burke's objections and elect to head back to the mothership and nuke the whole damn place from orbit. Company and their money be damned.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Fucking A.
Oh, hold on 1 second. This installation has a substantial dollar value attached to it.
They can bill me.
They called the dropship to come pick them up, not knowing that one of those xenomorphs had stowed away inside the dropship. Now as they approach the survivors, the alien takes out the pilot and crashes the ship all over the place, sending the survivors scrambling. This scene is where they realize how totally screwed they are, and is one of my favorites simply because of Bill Paxton's Private Hicks just whining. Perfect delivery.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? We're some real pretty shit now, man.
You finished?
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
We also learn an important detail about the aliens.
And they mostly come at night. Mostly.
They mostly come out at night. Mostly. It's a good tip. Now once back safely inside, Bishop informs them all that the dropship crash damaged the plant's cooling system and it's going to overheat and explode, killing everybody. Thankfully, there's an antenna way out from the base with a tiny pipe that Bishop will just barely fit in. He volunteers to crawl through the pipe and use the antenna to remote call a second dropship down to pick them up. Now watching Lance Hendrickson in that tight space triggered my claustrophobia so bad, even though I was sitting in a large open theater. Bruce Willis doesn't realize how easy he had it crawling through an air vent in Die Hard. That leaves the rest of our intrepid rescuers left inside where all the aliens are. This is where we find out just how slimy Burke is. While Ripley and Newt are sleeping in the lab, Burke locks them in with a couple of facehuggers. It gets pretty dicey for a moment, but then Ripley trips the fire alarm to alert Hicks, who breaks in just in time to kill the facehuggers before they could hug any faces. Before Ripley could kick the shit out of Burke, the power is cut and the aliens come calling. In the big battle, poor Hudson is killed when an alien pulls him down through the floor. And then again, Burke shows his slimy side when he abandons the group and locks the door behind him, leaving them to fend for themselves. You think he's going to get away, but nope. Unfortunately for those of us in the audience, he's killed off screen. After all the crap he pulled, we were really rooting for him to have an especially gory death. Now Gorman finally mans up, and he goes back to help Vasquez, who is injured, but they are completely surrounded by the aliens and decided to not be taken alive. Hicks gets himself injured, so he's out of action, and then Newt gets separated from Ripley. Well, she's not really separated from her, as much as she's taken by an alien and cocooned on a wall. Bishop arrives just in time with the dropship and they load Hicks on board, but Ripley is now in full-on mom mode and goes to find Newt. Not only does she find her, but she finds the egg farm and the alien queen herself. She destroys all the eggs and then hauls ass to the dropship with a pissed off alien queen chasing after her. They take off just in time before the place goes nuclear. Once they're back on the mothership, everyone is feeling safe. Happy ending for all. Or at least until Bishop is torn in two by the alien queen, who stowed away on the landing gear. She's quite a sneaky bitch.
You did okay.
I did.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the coolest effects in the movie. Bishop's legs went one way and his torso went the other, but milk went everywhere. The queen goes after Newt, but before she can get a hold of the little minx, Ripley makes one of the most badass entrances in cinema history.
Get away from her, you bitch!
It's a fight to the death between Ripley and the Queen, with Ripley winning by ejecting the alien out of the airlock. Finally safe, Ripley gets the others in their hypersleep chambers and then jumps in hers for the return trip back to Earth. Now, I absolutely love this movie. It's one of the best sci-fi movies of all time in my opinion. And no disrespect to the great Ridley Scott, but I think this sequel is far better than the original. Cameron and the cast just knocked it out of the park. Now, with two successful Alien films, this was now officially a franchise. There have been 6 sequels and 2 crossover movies where the Xenomorphs from Alien are pitted against the Predator. Some of these sequels are really good. Some not so much. I don't think this film series will ever end, as there's still so many stories that can be told. Which Alien film is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below to help grow this channel. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, and I hope you will come back for the next Back to the Future.